Okay, it is 3:45, and it looks like we have our council and commission here present, most except for Councilman Carwin. So we will go ahead and get started. And I was told that our consultant is on the way, so we can have our staff kind of get us started on our presentation. But I want to welcome everybody. Today is Wednesday, December the 4th, 2024. It's 3:45. I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. It's a special council meeting, a Menifee Innovation District Specific Plan Joint Workshop. Madam Clerk, if you would you please call roll?
Councilmember Estrada.
Here.
Councilmember Carwin is absent. Councilmember Sobek. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Dinas.
Here.
Mayor Zimmerman.
I'm here.
Commissioner Long. Here. Commissioner Madrid.
Here.
Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
Vice Chair Diedrich.
Here.
And Chair Liddell.
I'm here too.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. We're going to go ahead and do our Pledge of Allegiance, and I see our newly elected councilman for District 3, Dan Temple. Dan, would you lead us in the flag salute, please? Thank you.
Please stand. Place your hand over your heart, please, and let us begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, Dan, and congratulations. All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and get started on item 4, a discussion item. This is a Menifee Innovation District Specific Plan Workshop. I see our Community Development Director, Ms. Kitzrow, is here to introduce the item.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, members of the commission, residents and public. Cheryl Kitzrow, Community Development Director. I will go ahead and kick us off. I think everyone has a copy of the PowerPoint presentation. It was published with the staff report. So we'll jump right in for the joint workshop, and then when our consultant gets here, we'll hand it off to them to continue on with the presentation and the work effort. So this afternoon, we're here to provide a project overview, a reminder of the project work effort, to share some of the outreach efforts and findings from our interviews with all of you, and then to work collaboratively to really, the end result of today's workshop is to create a vision statement that will act as the foundation as we move forward with the specific plan effort. So the area involved in the Menifee Innovation District specific plan is currently designated as our Economic Development Corridor Southern Gateway, identified here in the yellow highlighted area on the map. So generally south of Scott, north of Keller, which is the city boundary with the city of Murrieta, west of the I-215, and east of Howard Road. So the initial goals that were established when the council gave direction to staff to move forward with this city-initiated specific plan work effort was to create a vision for the Menifee Innovation District that reflects input from the council, stakeholders, and the community, identify areas of opportunity to leverage and constraints to address as we create the specific plan document, evaluate and identify infrastructure needs for the future development of the project area, create an allowable use matrix, development standards, and design guidelines to promote appropriate mix of uses for the specific plan's vision. And that's why today is so important. Once we get that vision, that will be the guiding foundation for the rest of the work effort, and then to ensure the plan is compliant with CEQA. So where we started, where we are, and where we're going. So earlier this year, staff began this work effort with our consultants, Rick Engineering. The team did research and site analysis in the spring of this year. In the summer, the consultant team created an opportunities and constraints report, and we held workshop number 1 with the community here in this room. And then we also held joint interviews with each of you council members and commissioners together. It's now fall, or maybe winter it's considered, 2024 joint PC workshop. We're here today, and then the next steps will be a hands-on design charrette. Once we have the vision statement established, in the winter, we'll create some land use alternatives and have workshop number 2 with the public for that land use process. In the spring, there'll be a determination on what the preferred land use plan will look like, and that'll set the foundation for a complete project description of what will be included in the specific plan and ultimately what will be analyzed as part of the environmental review document. We'll prepare a notice of prep and hold a scoping meeting and kick off that EIR process. During the summer of 2025, we'll be preparing, it'll be a lot of behind-the-scenes technical analysis for the EIR, and then hopefully by the end of the summer, we'll have that public review draft out of the EIR and the specific plan. And then the goal is by this time next year, we will have our final draft of the specific plan and EIR to present to you and the community for ultimate adoption.
Cheryl, real quick,
Yes.
in that timeline, was there a place where there was a stakeholder input?
So the workshops are the public workshops, the joint planning commission and council workshops, and then the public workshops. And then once the notice of prep and scoping meeting, that'll be another public opportunity for input as well. And then all of the public hearings will be for public workshop.
Okay, so
As we work through, if you're specifically referencing maybe the developer stakeholder group, we'll do that at those regular developer stakeholder group meetings. Those are typically held on the 3s, so
okay.
months that are divisible by.
I noticed that one of the things farther in the PowerPoint was that we're balancing community input from the workshop with the stakeholder input, so I was just curious if that happened.
I think, you know, in terms of stakeholders, that's a broad, that's a broad statement. I think the property owners are stakeholders. They were all notified and invited to tonight's workshop as well. The council, the commission are stakeholders, anyone that has a development proposal. So I think we use that in the broader sense.
Thank you.
So this word cloud here is a compilation of the input we received in our discussions with the council and commission over the summer when we talked about what does the innovation district look like in the future to all of you. The larger the words, the more those words were used during our conversations. So you could see the things that really stand out: entrepreneurs, modern architecture, local jobs, higher ed, healthcare, incubator space, executive suites, med tech, research and development. You get the idea. The smaller the words, the fewer times it came up, but those are still concepts that were discussed as part of those input sessions with each of you. So we wanted to take an opportunity and just remind you all and share with the public the key themes that came out of that workshop number 1 that we hosted this summer. And there was a lot of input from the public, from the folks that live down there and own property down there, but really the takeaways and the high-level themes were to create a unique identity and use high-quality design elements with the specific plan, to focus on tech-oriented, educational, and research-based business types, to cultivate a vibrant economy, to create spaces for entertainment, mixed-use, live-work spaces, and offices, prohibit warehouses and distribution buildings, provide for open space and buffers between the specific plan area boundaries and the adjacent rural residential areas, and that's primarily to the west of the project area. And then to encourage multimodal transit opportunities and walkable streets with trails that have an opportunity to connect to surrounding areas. And there is an approved specific plan just south of Keller in the city of Marietta. Their plan does include open space trails south of Keller. So I think the thought there was an opportunity to potentially have some connections. So moving on to the key themes from our interviews and conversations that we had with you. These here kind of capture and are similar to the workshop key themes. So to create a unique identity for the area through innovative architecture and clear design guidelines. To focus on attracting development for office, business parks, or an innovation campus with incubator spaces and a technology hub. Really to focus on providing local, high-paying jobs. Out of the interviews, there are two things that really we need to follow up on this evening as well. Further discussion is required about residential development and entertainment community amenities. Those were categories where there were some different opinions in our discussions. And then to collaborate with local educational institutions to really bridge that jobs and education opportunity with MSJC and the other universities here locally. So jumping into those two areas where we'd like to have further discussion with the group, residential land uses and entertainment uses. So currently, the general plan designation for the area is Economic Development Corridor Southern Gateway. Within that designation in the general plan, there are a breakdown of land use types for the area. And currently, there is a 10% provision for residential in the Southern Gateway. The definition of the residential is to play a supporting role. And there is a requirement in the general plan that residential be integrated vertically with any development, and also a provision that any residential proposed in the EDC needs to be 1,000 feet from the freeway. So because the existing general plan designation includes a 10% allotment for residential in the Southern Gateway, we need to determine how to address that. One of the things we need to consider when we determine how to address that, and if residential makes sense to keep as that small component within the specific plan and maybe define how or where within the boundary it may work best, or remove it. The challenge with removing it, and just so everyone is reminded, we've got state law SB 330, which prohibits a city from eliminating or downzoning residential designations unless we find replacement area for that designation. So if we say there's 30 acres of residential in the Southern Gateway, if we say we don't want any residential there, we now have to expand our project scope and find another area in the city to move that 30 acres or that density for residential uses. So the two options are for the commission and the council to discuss tonight and provide some direction to staff is, do we keep the 10% and further define it through the specific plan, whether we create a specific planning area or whether we let it be a little bit more flexible using the existing requirements in the general plan that has to be vertically integrated, that it can't be within 1,000 feet of the freeway, and see where it makes most sense as development occurs and leave it that way? Or do we say we definitely don't want residential down there, we don't want that mix of uses, and staff go back and find us a piece of property or properties where we can increase density or make residential uses work? So I'm going to continue and we'll come back to discussion. That works for you. So just for conversation purposes and looking at other innovation districts and how residential could work in the area, if that's what the direction is, there are creative ways to integrate the residential within a mixed-use district, within a business park district, vertically. Here are some examples here where we've got live, work, play concepts in innovation areas, Aggie Square in Davis, Research Triangle Park Hub in North Carolina, where they've co-located light industrial with housing, which creates, that live-in, that 24/7 opportunity where you've got folks living there, and creates that jobs housing balance within a defined area of the city. So actually, we have these discussion questions. Up to you if you'd like to tackle them as we are here now, or do you want me to go through the entire presentation and then we could circle back?
Council and Commissioner, you guys want to take it up right now? Is that okay? All right, let me ask first, Cheryl, is there a preference from staff on this? Would you rather us try to incorporate residential into a mix similar to what you just showed in the previous slide? Is that something that makes a little bit more sense from a professional standpoint, or do you prefer to try to find a no net loss somewhere else?
I think it provides a little bit of flexibility for the market. I think there's opportunities where we can maybe define an area within the specific plan where it makes sense, right? We create a planning area that allows for like a residential overlay. We cap those units based on the existing 10% threshold. Does it make most sense along Scott Road? Obviously, we're trying to keep it away from the freeway. Does it make most sense at Keller? Those things we could define further as we look at the land use plan. I think finding another location is a little bit of a challenge.
Council members, let's see what we think, and commissioners, we'll start with Councilman Carwin.
Thank you very much. One of the things from an economic development standpoint we've heard a lot of is that Menifee doesn't meet the analytics that a lot of the businesses that our residents want are looking for, specifically entertainment venues. So is the EDC residential cap holding us back from meeting those metrics that would then bring in the businesses we want? So it seems like it's folding in on each other. We don't have the residential to support the metrics that the businesses are looking for, but we want the businesses to come in without the residential. So is that EDC residential cap holding us back from economic development?
I don't necessarily think the EDC cap is. I think if you look at the city as a whole and the percentage of area where we have opportunities for residential, the opportunities are there. I think it just takes time for that economic development cycle to happen, for those rooftops to come in, for the educational attainment levels to increase, for our median incomes to increase, to attract the types of businesses you're talking about. I don't necessarily think it's the cap on the EDC areas.
So what is the current height requirement, cap that we have for EDC, or is there one?
There is, and it varies by district. I don't know off the top of my head.
All right, well, this district is the one we're talking about, right?
Oh, hi. Our consultant is here.
So I guess what I'm saying is
we can take a look at that. I would be guessing. I don't know.
The reason I'm asking is because we've heard, all of us have heard, that people don't want 10, 12-story buildings coming into Menifee. Is that what would be required in order to make this work? So could we do it with a 3 or 4-story building incorporating one level of residential? Would that?
I think we can.
Make it dent?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had from this
Next
round.
in the queue is Commissioner Thomas.
My question is, in that, as far south as that is, would that be more like spot zoning where you're sticking, I understand you're trying to go for a grand scheme, but housing that far down, I could see a rationale for housing maybe just below Lowe's or something and a mix or something. I see what, Councilman Carwin's saying there, but that far south, you've already got Commerce Point. Would it be logical for housing to be there, or farther north towards the existing housing and the existing shopping and things? So what I'm trying to say is, do you see housing really is feasible that far south when we already have Commerce Point there and we're looking more towards light industrial commercial development.
I see there could be an opportunity for a mixed-use building in the Southern Gateway. We've got all of the residential to the west, even though it's rural residential, that's all residentially designated. And then south of Keller, the Murrieta specific plan, all of that is residential with a variety of densities. So it wouldn't be an island.
Okay. And then last question, on the 10%, is that 10% of the SP or 10% of the total EDC throughout the city?
It's of the Southern Gateway, so the
Of the
SP
Southern
area.
Gateway, okay.
Councilmember Sobek's next.
Thank you, Mayor. If we were to designate that 10% and no one wants to build housing in that area, would we have to?
We wouldn't have to. The SB 330 is a designation. It's a land use change requirement. So no net loss of the policy, the designation itself.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Estrada.
Hey, good evening, Cheryl. The 10% in the specific plan, do we have an estimate of how many units or the metrics of the residential living quarters we're looking at?
So we can define that with the specific plan. Currently, the EDC designation for residential, the density would be 20 to 24 dwelling units. That's the highest density we currently have in our general plan, and that is the density that would be applied in the EDC Southern Gateway right now. So at 30 acres, 20 dwelling units to the acre would be the max.
Commissioner Long.
Yes, looking at the map, if you go to the other side of the highway, it's a large residential development. So the district actually is very close to a residential community on the east side, and on the west side, if you go north about 2 miles, then there will be more residential developments. What we don't have right now in this area is actually high density, apartment, because when we attract new employees coming to work in this area, normally the way they start is going to rent apartment. So this is what we might need, apartment for new resident, new employees coming.
Can we go back one slide? When I look at this Research Triangle Park Hub, and I envision that in our Southern Gateway, and I think that would be pretty cool. I know that there was a time when Commissioner Thomas and I were on the Planning Commission way back when, and we were shepherding this general plan amendment for the city of Menifee, our first one, and Chris said there really shouldn't be any residential in this area at all. It should be a place for high paying jobs and high tech and things like that. But then the conversation started to talk about what if somebody comes in with something like we're looking at here, a true vertical mix, and if our wording said no residential at all, well, we would have to vote no on something that would be wonderful. So we then said, all right, then let's go ahead and allow it, but let's talk about what percentage of a product like this, and we were talking vertical, is it just the top floor? Is that 25% of a 4-story building? And then things changed. We had council and commission changes after an election, and the discussion went from a form-based discussion of the percentage of a building to a more of a Euclidean flat land, what percentage of the land. And so it was kind of okay because back then, the Southern Gateway was a lot larger than what we have today. We've changed that to community core, and we thought of places like where Mill Creek project would be appropriate for residential, and that might take up that percentage. But now we've changed it, and we've kind of squeezed our Southern Gateway just to what we're talking about now. So does that 10% have to stay within this now, or can we say that where it was originally identified maybe still counts? No. Okay, that's what I was wondering. So we're looking at about 30 acres then of where we would need to have something like this. But again, like I said when I first started, if somebody were to come in and propose something like that, a true vertical mix, live, work, play, built smart growth, human scale, I would love something like that personally. I don't know how the rest of the council and commission feels, but so I think we can welcome that and keep that as part, but I want to hear from the others. What do you guys think?
Mayor, I would just like to add that I actually brought it up on my internet here on my phone. I've been to a place like this. It's called Station Park. It's in Farmington, Utah. And I went there to visit family, and they said, we're going to go to an outdoor concert. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, when we went, it was a shopping center. There was a park in the middle of it, just like this hub, this triangle hub. There was a movie theater that had garage doors that opened up out to where the kids were playing in the play yard. It was beautiful. There was a pond, a bridge, outdoor beautiful lighting. There were retail shops along the bottom. And then there were a few tall buildings off to the side, just like this one, where there were business offices and attorney offices. And then above it on the 3rd floor was apartments. And it worked really well. So something like this, I could see this. This would be, like you said, I agree. This would be awesome to see something like this available in our Southern Gateway.
Yeah. I think for the most part, what we've always hoped for, because nowhere in our 48 square mile city do we have a place for corporate business parks, high-tech, architects, engineers, biotech, telecommunications, analytical labs, places that do silicon chips, software designers, all the things that our MSJC college students are studying in their field of study and have to commute to San Diego or somewhere far to find that job. And so we're trying to reduce that commute and have that here. We have 48 square miles of a city, and this is just a half of a square mile, a small little sliver. And so we wanted to try to really make this the place for those high-tech businesses. But I can still see something like this Research Triangle Hub fitting in there. So we've got others in the queue. We'll start with Councilman Carwin.
Thank you. My question is, what is the demand for this in this area? Because the only one, like I can think of down in Murrieta, there's a couple of areas that are kind of set up like this, and I don't know what their occupancy rate or things like that. I'm seeing a North Carolina example, which is a technology hub where that is, and Davis, California, but we don't really have that technology hub here. So I guess my looming question is, why hasn't somebody come to us already proposing this without us having to do this part of it?
I think a little of this is aspirational. We are trying to set the foundation to help attract these types of uses here. There are a lot of infrastructure challenges down in the Southern Gateway that create costs on development that make some of this infeasible. I think, through the specific plan process and establishing hopefully an administrative process for approvals that meet the intent and vision of the specific plan using the CEQA tool will help facilitate bringing these types of developments and businesses here. That's our goal.
Is there an example of something like this near here?
Of an innovation district?
Right. The one that we're shooting for. Well, you're pointing at North Carolina. Right. So what I'm talking about, is there anything in Southwest Riverside County or Southern California that's within 50 miles of here that's like this and thriving right now?
I think there are mixed-use districts and business parks, yes. I think what we're trying to do is create something unique and special for Menifee that isn't necessarily a repeat of something else that's been done elsewhere. I mean, looking at areas like downtown Riverside or even downtown Temecula has, some mixed-use buildings that have some office space. Some of those are open for tech companies.
Are they full?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I know what we're looking here is use and zoning. We're not looking to build this, obviously.
Right.
But
there are also, business parks, mixed-use business parks down in the Carlsbad area, in the Poway area, that are opportunities to look at.
So what is the number one obstacle that we have right now from somebody bringing this to us already?
I would say infrastructure and process, right? It takes time. So if we establish the specific plan, we create the foundation, we do the environmental review, we create mechanisms for funding infrastructure, we create a process where if the project is consistent with the specific plan, they don't have to do their own environmental impact report, where a project can be approved administratively. It really is an incentive to a developer to help entice them to do something like this here.
So we don't have a line of developers going, I would bring this to Menifee right now if you allowed 20% residential. We don't have a line of that. This is,
No.
right, okay, thank you.
But it may help, this effort may help, especially Cheryl mentioned having a environmental impact report that is done, and that it helps projects pencil, because we're looking at a lot of, tonight we're gonna have one, where we've seen a lot where individual projects come and they've gotta do a full-blown EIR, and that's very expensive, north of $100,000. And so this is something that is helping, and also some of the things Cheryl mentioned, fast tracking projects, if they meet that criteria and they're bringing the right types of projects, waiving permit fees, those kinds of things, that's all part of this incentive. So, but yes, it's a great question, and I think that having an EIR blanket for the entire 300 acres really makes it enticing. All right, we have a few people in the queue. We'll start with Councilman Estrada.
Thank you. So this is going to be our innovation district, and we've talked about everything that's got us to this point. We've talked about unique identity and making this innovation district different than any other part of what our neighbors have or anything different in the rest of our city. And this conversation's kind of heading towards, okay, how can we add more residential and entertainment and business park? And I'm definitely open to all of those ideas and being creative and being flexible, but I don't want to get lost in this innovation district. This specific plan is meant for high-paying jobs, research and development. And so I don't want to get lost in these other types of development. I just kind of want to straighten out that arrow a little bit and just throwing it out there. I don't want to bite yet at these first two pictures that I see, but I see where we're kind of going with it. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
So, and again, these are examples when we say, how does residential work in an innovation district? Something like this is kind of an example. But I'm curious, Councilman, you mentioned unique identity, and that's something I noticed on some of those vision statements. What do you think that means? Because I'm trying to figure that out. What makes this unique?
Right, well, I'm open to all the ideas. What I have in mind is, maybe when you're driving down the street, you see, the high clear glasses, and you might see doctors and scientists in their lab coats working, maybe walking down the street in their lab coats. And I know we just approved the signage where it was the warm brown wood and then the metallic behind it, maybe making the architecture coincide with the signage we approved previously, the metallic look. When I step into an innovation district, I'm in an innovation district. I'm not in a community. I'm not here to go to the movies. I'm not here to have dinner. I'm here to go to work.
Yeah, sense of place. I like that. Commissioner Madrid and I went down to San Diego, down by Torrey Pines, and we were trying to find a place to park for a golf thing that we were at. And that whole area was full of exactly what I think we're hoping, this unique identity. It had innovation district, it had genetics companies, people with lab coats, just like Councilman Estrada's talking about. And I remember talking to Randy going, wouldn't something like this be awesome in our Southern Gateway, right? And the types of businesses that were there, they were doing genetic coding, or they were doing biotechnology, and and it kind of had this, they all had this same kind of look with a large kind of gathering fountain in the front, and I don't know, you remember how the front of the facades all looked? They had flag poles and then that mirror glass like you're talking about, and it just, I don't know, I was thinking this is an innovation district. We're in one right now, and so it was kind of cool to see.
There was both multi-level.
Talking to Mike.
There was both multi-level and single level, but you couldn't, it wasn't obstructive.
Yeah.
So that would be, see, my problem with,
Talking to Mike.
my problem with this Disneyland concept is how are you gonna make it work? How are you gonna phase it? Who's gonna do what first? Who's gonna do what part of the infrastructure? Does the city have a certain amount of money put away to help? Is there incentives? But it's too much. It's wonderful, but it's just too much. What are the landowners willing to do? We don't own the land. So that's huge. But you're gonna zone their land, not maybe necessarily against their will. So, well, we're not talking about that right now, but it's gonna be a little more difficult to do that. But what the mayor's saying is everything's in, and what Councilman Estrada is saying, everything's in continuity. You know where you're at. It's not a lively environment where you're gonna walk to some event or some venue, but it's professional. So I would say I like the professional executive environment myself. And this is just what, one half of how many acres?
Yeah, so.
One half a square
Square
acre.
mile.
Okay, square mile. So this is just, let's don't make this too big. We've got all these other spots in the city that we're working on anyway. But I'm saying, you were saying earlier, how do we get them to come? Who you're gonna have, oh, I wanna come to that, but I'm not gonna put residential. And I'll tell you right now, the reason they don't come doesn't pencil out.
Not yet.
Not yet. I've tried, yeah, that's true, I'm saying it might not be the time to say this, but I've tried to get combined use with the residents on top here in Town Center. Doesn't pencil out to the developers that I've talked to, so.
All right, let's move on. Commissioner Long is next.
Thank you. We are talking about Innovation District, and right next to our neighbor, Murrieta. Murrieta has Murrieta Innovation Center, and it's a hub for startup. Actually, they got $2.4 million from the federal government for funding. And right now, they are the hub for about 10 different startup companies. If you drive through Murrieta, you're going to see the most number of healthcare facilities. They have Kaiser, they have Loma Linda. All the major hospitals are located in Murrieta. So that's why it's becoming a hub for healthcare science. And then if you go a little further south, Temecula, they have the Center for Entrepreneur, Temecula. And the major feature for this particular program is they partner with nearby university. They partner with Santa Barbara. They partner with Riverside County Economic Development. They partner with UC Riverside Research and Development. So the essential part of the innovation district is research and development. We have to be partnered with a university. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next up is Councilmember Sobek.
Thank you. I was thinking about what Councilmember Carwin was saying, and the thought that came to me was when the city of Marietta was developing, they chose a medical corridor. There was no such thing in Southwest Riverside County of a medical corridor. And so as the conversation's been shared here, I believe that if this is something that our residents want in that area, and this is something that we're gonna strive for, to have these biotech and innovative district, that we have that opportunity to do that now on this land. And just the pictures on the screen of the residential, I just know that that's an example of what can be done, that it can work. And so also when I shared about the place that I had visited, I was just sharing that it can work, and that it can be a positive thing in a community. And it can be, they're tax dollars. So anyway, I just wanted to say that just because it hasn't been done locally doesn't mean it wouldn't work, especially with the medical corridor that we have adjacent to our city on the south.
Commissioner Thomas is next.
So I had written in my notes when we started off, we want to be careful to not create barriers to entry on this. If we have, specifically in regards to design standards. I know we were just speaking about the 30 acres here, but I'm talking about in entirety the SP. If we create too high of a design standard, it will be a barrier to entry to a company coming in. So if we could just keep that in mind, we're doing the design standards of not requiring things that would be cost prohibitive. Obviously, we want a new look, we want a upscale look, we want that, but let's not create a barrier to entry. That was a thought. And my other one is, I'd agree with Ricky, is I really don't see this as an entertainment area, personally. I see it as job creation, tech, and that. So that's just my opinion.
I agree. And we have, again, 48 square mile city, lots of places for entertainment. So it's not that we don't like entertainment, it's just that we're trying to keep this as the place for high-tech jobs.
That's a really great segue, because the next question focuses on entertainment in this
Okay.
area.
Hang on just one sec, we're almost there. Our Mayor Pro Tem chimed in, and then we'll jump right in. I know we want to move this workshop. Go ahead, Dean.
Thank you. Yeah, I know that tonight our goal is to discuss whether we keep the 10% in this or look elsewhere, and I think the consensus is keep it in. Yeah, my only concern, I guess, the way I put it would be that the residential doesn't drive the district. That we recognize that we need to keep the residents in there, residential in there, but we're open to how it's done in the future, so that, as Commissioner Thomas said, you know, we don't make the standards so difficult that, you know, they keep going, everyone, you know, developers go somewhere else for it. Yeah. I think that's what we need to keep in focus. I know we're going to start talking about this on the next question about the entertainment, but if you put a lot of, you know, residential, then there's got to be something there, whether there's some kind of shopping. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of traveling to the different places. So that's why it's important to kind of have an idea where we put our residential areas at, so that there is access to what they need for shopping, but not make that the overarching goal of this district of, let's make sure we get the residential place decided and then wait to see who else comes. So that was my concern. I think, you know, it sounds like we're kind of on the right track.
Those are good points. It plays a supporting role, and we don't want to trigger VMT by not having those resources to those residents. So, all right, Cheryl, let's go ahead and shift gears and move through our workshop, because at some time we're going to open up for public comments too.
Right. So we need to tackle the entertainment question and then really focus on the vision statement. I do want to hand it off now to Brooke Peterson with Rick Engineering. She is the project lead with our consultant team, so I'll let her go and finish the presentation, but of course available for any questions.
Welcome, Ms. Peterson.
Thank you, and my sincere apologies for being late. A lot of traffic and an accident in Temecula, so my apologies. But good evening, Mayor, council members, commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to kind of pick up what Cheryl started and continue the conversation. So yes, we're moving on to the next question, which is really, if I can, looking at entertainment. So I know earlier in the presentation said we have two topics for discussion tonight. You've been working through the conversation over residential, so now we want to move towards the entertainment. So I want to just kind of touch on the provision of what the general plan says. The intent of the EDCs overall was to identify areas where a mixture of uses occurred, whether that be residential, commercial, office, civic, industrial, educational or recreational. And then this particular sub-area, and this is again just per the existing general plan, is envisioned as a business park, predominantly light industrial and office uses with limited commercial use. So we've listed here some of the entertainment uses allowed that are within the development code. And so the question really is, as we are looking to prepare this specific plan, what kind of entertainment is entertainment appropriate? Is there a reason? Is there a market? Is there a use or value to it? So here are some examples of what currently could occur based on the code. And I'll just remind you that a specific plan can be used to tailor it to a specific area. It can diverge from the existing code. So it's not to say that what you see here or what the code says limits it, but that's just our starting point for the discussion. So again, here are just some options, just some current uses that are often seen in innovation districts. These are uses and entertainment attractions that actually really help to kind of ground, secure activity and vibrancy in those innovation districts. Often those employees use these either as amenities, like you see with the food hall, or actually as kind of entertainment and after-hours entertainment, such as the bowling alley. So entertainment really can be used to as kind of a synergy, complementary kind of uses to that innovation district. There's a big market for the kinds of employees and the kinds of industries that would occur in an innovation district. They certainly make use of these kinds of options in proximity to the actual building or the R&D building that we've been talking about. So as I mentioned, now kind of before us is this discussion question of should entertainment be included in the innovation district? And then if so, how do you see that? How do you envision that being integrated? So I want to just turn it over to you, Mayor, for the discussion.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Peterson. So council members, this is a tough one because I've heard a few of you say, and I think I agree with it, that this is like the one place, it's a half a square mile in this 48 square mile city that offers lots of places where we really would love to see entertainment come. Nobody's a stick in the mud is going to say we don't like bowling alleys and laser tag and all of that. But do we want it in this place? And do we want to say, hey, this is the location for those high-tech industries, for professionals? And also, when we think about being respectful to the neighbors that are slightly west of this 300 acres, and the intensity level, when you have an architect firm at 5 o'clock, they go home and the loudest noise you hear is the occasional scamper of a bunny rabbit across the parking lot or something. It's quiet, right? And the lights are down, and it respects that night sky enjoyment at nighttime for those residents that live there. And when you bring an entertainment component, it starts to maybe affect that a little bit. So that's something to consider. But you guys chime in. Who'd like to share? Do you think entertainment should be included in this place? We'll start with Councilman Carwin.
I think there's a difference between public entertainment and entertainment that requires an industrial size space. And I'm thinking specifically of tournament quality areas for like volleyball, indoor pickleball, those kinds of things that require this kind of expanse where you have, I saw batting cages on the list. There's Mulligan's, which has batting cages, and then there's Velo, which is in District 1, which is more designed for coaching and membership type of things as opposed to just stopping by with a birthday party. So for that kind of thing, I think that's something we can consider. I don't think this should be an area where people are going in and out all day long, you know, for 7 days a week. Entertainment zone, I think a bowling alley probably isn't right for this area. But if we wanted to have a volleyball area or a batting cage, I don't know why another batting cage company would come to town, but if they wanted to, something that requires an industrial sized space that's more of instructional and development rather than just entertainment, that's where it kind of gets great to me. But I'm not in favor of just generalized entertainment there.
Thank you. Next is Councilman Estrada.
Yeah, just to the north of it, if we look north of Scott Road, we got the intersection of Hahn and Scott, and you know I've expressed this in our unique identity and in our potential downtown Menifee. Where can we put that? And hey, if we continue the momentum down past Lowe's and BJ's and the Buffalo Wild Wing and all the way down Hahn, hey, if I'm working in the innovation district, I don't mind driving half a block up north. Right where our downtown countryside marketplace, and we continue that momentum down. a big aerial picture, you know, there's downtown Menifee, there's our synergy, and okay, just half a block down, we go to work in the innovation district. So I think we have one innovation district. It's meant for the jobs, it's meant for the research and development, and I don't want to get too lost in these other amenities.
Okay, good point. Next is Commissioner Diedrich.
Yeah, I agree with most people that are speaking up here, and that I don't think entertainment should be the driving factor in this section. It's for the high-paying tech jobs. That said, we are having the discussion of, are there going to be residential and mixed use in there? And I feel if there is going to be residential mixed use, there is a need for some of these kinds of amenities for those people. I mean, we have a huge amount of leakage in our city from entertainment point of view, right? I mean, we don't have many entertainment options here in town. People go to Temecula, Murrieta for those things. I agree with you. We have 48 square miles, but we don't have any right now. And if we are putting housing in here, I think there is maybe a fit for breweries or smaller kind of venues like that to provide entertainment and amenities and services for those people if we're going to be allowing residential in here. I mean, if I had my way, there would be no residential. It would just be straight high-tech jobs in this section, but I don't know if that's going to play out that way or not. So I think if we go that path, I think there is some room for some of these things, like a brewery. I mean, I know there are breweries that want to come to town, and there's just nowhere to put them. And if this is that place, then I don't know, maybe that works in that case.
All right, well said, Ben. Next is Joe Long.
Thank you. I would like to expand the word entertainment larger. It should be recreation. It should be activity for employees. And one particular feature that I would like to highlight is musical park, walking trail, small golf course. Believe me, golf course is most critical for a company, for corporation. Employees normally don't talk officially. They go to the golf course to talk. So small golf course with innovative design would be a perfect inclusion here. Thank you.
Next is Councilmember Sobek.
Yeah, thank you. You know what I wish, Cheryl, that you could help us with? We have the Community Core Economic Development Corridor. Could you share a little bit with us generally? Because that's right next to this. And I believe we should have a bigger picture of what the vision is and where the entertainment, I know that there's a mixed use coming in at the corner of Scott and Hahn as well. We have Walmart coming in over there. So I think it would be helpful to have a little bit of a bigger vision, if you can help us out.
Sure. So north of Scott Road, along the Hahn Road corridor, is our community core. And I'll briefly read the vision for that. Commercial retail, commercial office, development that supports and complements town center, attention to walkability, connections to the college, but really the primary uses there are commercial retail along that entire corridor, again, connecting and continuing what we have at the Countryside Marketplace. You're right, the Walmart Center is located at the northeast corner of Scott and Hahn, so that will be coming. It will also include some retail along the corner. And then we have the Liberty Center, a mixed-use proposal at the northwest corner of Scott and Hahn. That will also include retail, restaurants, hotels, some business park in that area too. So there is opportunity for that cohesion, right? The amenities are going to be located and are being proposed and coming north of Scott Road.
Right, literally, what, a half a mile, quarter of a mile? Okay, all right, that helps a lot, I think, for us, as we say, innovation district. My feelings are is that we try to make that the main focus, and that would be my opinion on that.
Mayor Pro Tem Dinas.
Thank you. You know, I don't think we should completely just shut the door. I don't think that's, you know, separate, you know, like the food hall from entertainment, as it were, because we're trying to entice these high-paying, very technical jobs, And there's those that work in that field have high expectations on kind of the amenities they have in those type of buildings. And you know, it's, if you work in technology, you get to work and you keep working until it's done. You don't have time to jump in the car and do that. You do a lot of collaboration while you're having lunch. Either you bring it in or you go out and have a meeting out and lunch. So there's a lot of opportunities for going out and having a lunch meeting and things like that. And so that would add value to this district by allowing that. Now, we don't need a bowling alley. I don't think those, you know, on that type of thing. Much as my kids went to batting cages a lot, but I don't think that's not what we're looking for. There's other places for that. But I think to be able to do the kind of restaurants and type of things, I think that will come naturally as developers decide what buildings to bring, what companies decide to come here. You know, if they want to provide those kind of amenities to their employees, or they're looking for something along, a food hall or something, then I think, you know, we shouldn't shut the door to it, but allow that to be in there in the event that they want, you know, some company wants to come in here and offer that. It could be a draw, but if we shut the door completely, then, you know, we've kind of maybe pushed some very desirable businesses out because, you know, we've restricted what they can build there.
All right, very good. Commissioner Ledoux.
Thank you, Mayor. I haven't had a lot to say yet because a lot of the ideas on my mind have kind of been spoken already. In terms of the residential, I think it's going to be difficult to find this amount of residential outside of this area, to go out and find something else, some other space for this. So we're probably going to end up keeping it. I think locationally should probably be south and west in this little corridor, away from the industrial that we already have that's there. In terms of the entertainment, I agree with Councilman Estrada about being south of where Lowe's is at, maybe being a hub for that kind of development. I also agree with Councilman Carwin about having the bigger buildings for stuff like volleyball tournaments, or maybe an indoor go-kart track or something like that, but not being a focus. And then I'm an avid golfer, so I love Commissioner Long stating something about golf. I don't know how feasible that would be, but I do know that night golf would kill here in Menifee. So thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Commissioner Madrid.
There's companies that have all these self-contained inside of them. Have anyone ever seen one of those? You walk in, they call it like Apple Orange County. And it's maybe a 2.5 acre, have you seen them, Wimmer? Yeah, and there's this one company called KYA, I went to visit them. They have food areas, like a bar, all these amenities. They have babysitting inside. So these can be self-contained too. You might not even see them from the outside. You won't see them from the outside. So just throwing that out there.
So it sounds to me, and I've been trying to keep track here, and it sounds to me like the majority of the commissioners and council are saying that entertainment maybe is not something that fits as well, and we'd want to steer away from having entertainment as a primary use, and try to stay more focused on what we would see as an innovation district with corporate business park uses and that kind of thing. So am I correct? Are you guys all kind of, am I reading it right? All right. So Armando, did you want to share something?
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, Mayor, because you know, I want to suggest that this cannot be the primary, right? It could be something that supplements the intent, but I want to make sure that we relate to you that what we're creating here is something that doesn't exist, right? And if you put guardrails on it, then it's not going to be an innovation district because we can just create conventional zoning for it. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to create an innovative zoning that would allow things that are going to innovate, right? design concepts, the future of living, because the type of residential that we see here is basically horizontal development. We need to see some vertical residential and integrate it with an innovation district. So I'm glad that you agreed that residential is an important component of the innovation district, because we also need to leverage the challenges that somebody will have to develop this. There's a lot of constraints out there. Land assemblage, infrastructure. So the more flexibility you build into this with some parameters, the better we're going to be able to achieve an innovation district that really accomplishes the job creation, the internal traffic that we need. We need people to get out of the house, go walk, go work, and then go eat without having to get in their car, right? So I think it's important to think about it. We're trying to create something that doesn't exist today. But we have a lot of examples in Orange County and San Diego and everywhere else. And remember, this is not going to be a plan that's going to be implemented next year or the following year. This is going to be a plan that's going to be implemented over time, 5 years, 10 years. But we're setting the foundation for it today, so that if somebody wants to invest in something that's innovative and bring jobs to medical industry, biotech, that they also leverage the ability to provide housing for financial purposes or for feasibility purposes, and allows them to bring in the infrastructure that's needed. So the more flexibility we build into this innovation district, the better, because we're trying to create something that doesn't exist today. And it's really difficult to ignore what's around it, but we shouldn't really pay attention to what's around it and make that 100% the reason why we zone this the way we should be zoning it, because again, this is an innovation district, and we're trying to create something special.
Thank you. Those are very good points. So, Ms. Peterson, if you don't mind, I'm keeping an eye on the clock. It looks like we've got about 15 minutes, but there may be public comments, and then I know the next thing we want to do is define that vision statement. And so maybe we'll do that in that order. Do we have some speakers? So let's take those, and then we'll do that last. Okay?
Do the vision statement
Do
last?
the vision statement last,
Absolutely.
but let's hear from the public first.
Sounds
That
good.
might influence our vision statement.
I have Casson Klein, followed by Boomer Shannon.
All right, welcome, Mr. Klein.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, commissioners, staff. It's been a while. It's good to see you all. I'll try and move quickly to keep it within my time frame. To Councilman Carwin's question, what's the number one obstacle? Constraints. I would suggest to the council and to the city that you do what any other developer does. You look at the 299 acres and you say, what is my net usable? I've spoken to you before about the EDC along the freeway and what you think you have on a flat map when you look at the constraints, biology, blue line streams, oak trees and those things. You don't have it. And I would say based on the development that is already in this area, those constraints, aside from infrastructure, right? What is your net usable? And even if there's an assemblage of land, what is the largest parcel that a developer could possibly assemble to build what it is that you're trying to achieve? The other obstacle, which is significant, if you haven't been following AB 98 that the governor signed at the end of September, many of the uses, Mayor Zimmerman, that you've talked about, at least in my mind, are going to require the type of building that the initial folks that I've spoken with, mostly at the city of Murrieta, can't be built because of what is in the bill. Until guidance comes down from the legislature next year, nobody in the market, and I'm sure my colleague, if Gordon Mize is going to talk, he can talk to you about it as well. No developer is going to run the risk and take the risk. And just some of the vagueness is no building with loading bays within 500 feet of a property line of a sensitive receptor. Well, what is a loading bay? Is that a truck well? Is it a loading dock? Or is it a roll-up door? batting cage, indoor batting cage, going to have a roll-up door. Can't come in. It talks about a development of 250,000 square feet. Is that a single building or is that a development? And keep in mind, a developer, because of cost and market, isn't going to build a 10 or 25,000 or 50,000 square foot building. So that's another constraint that doesn't run with the land, but certainly with our state government, which ties your hands. So you might be, I mean, I don't want to suggest a moratorium, and I'm not concerned with saying that for landowners because, again, my strong opinion is no developer is going to come in and look at buying land down here with AB 98 hanging out there the way it is.
Mr. Klein, your time is up.
If I could finish? Thank you. I would just say that I wouldn't want to see the city adopt something that can't be built because of state law. Thank you for the extra time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Next speaker, please.
Boomer Shannon, followed by Phil Durner.
Welcome, Mr. Shannon.
Council, Commission, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. As the gentleman before me was saying, you guys are in a really tough spot. You have some legislation hanging out in the wind right now that, oh, it's getting taller. That's fantastic. Thank you. You guys have some constraints going on with the state. AB 98 is one of the ones that's really kind of hanging out there, and those things are going to be clarified in the next set, but I wanted there was a couple points that were brought up that I really wanted to speak to. The top of the list for me was Commissioner Madrid's point about mixed use. We do have mixed use projects in Riverside County, right? We have the Mark in downtown Riverside right now, which I had an office in for some short time. The residential is empty. The mixed use, the retail portion at the bottom is empty still. Right? They have a food lab across the street. That's fantastic. That's a great idea. I think that works well in Riverside and works well in Rancho Cucamonga as well. I think that's very, very good for what they're trying to do in that area. But keep in mind that the Mark, although that it is currently empty, didn't have to pay for large infrastructure costs because they were on a main strip already, right? Those guys, and I would encourage you to go and talk to that developer. Just last night, that same developer just approved over 400 units across town for apartments. Right, so they're recognizing that these mixed-use products don't work either because once you set yourself into that mode, hey, look, I'm going to do mixed-use buildings. I want to continue to do that because I can take that plan, I can take all the things that I've learned and improve the next one. If they're changing their direction, it might be because of the legislative constraints this gentleman was talking about. It might be because it doesn't pencil out. But I know, and I know, as Mr. Madrid has said, it's difficult to get those to work. So I want you guys to move forward with an abundance of caution. I'm inspired by your guys' vision. I think that the direction you guys are going is fantastic. The medical corridor in Murrieta was 12 years in the making to get that done. That was a huge lift by the city there. Right, and you guys are looking to take the same challenge on today. So I encourage you, and Godspeed for your efforts, but please be very, very careful about what restrictions you place upon this product, because it will eventually come back to bite you. You guys are offered the ability to do variance. If you decide that there's a developer that wants to come in and build a Yahoo-style, all-encompassing campus, right, that would be fantastic for the city. Your guys' tax benefits would go out through the roof. You guys would have a fantastic opportunity to help build and innovate new technologies in the city. But those guys are going to come to you and go, hey, look, we want to do some wild stuff. We're really thinking about putting a mini golf course inside, right? And what you guys are talking about now would make it very difficult for them to be able to do that. So I encourage your guys' vision. I think you guys are moving in the right direction. I think that the innovation corridor is going to be fantastic for your city. But be very, very, very cautious on what restrictions you place because you guys will have the opportunity to change those in the future. Think broad. And as you guys begin to get developers that come in, focus into what is a product that will work for the city and work for the developer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon. Next speaker.
Phil Durner, followed by Lupe Jenkins.
Welcome, Mr. Durner.
Thank you very much. My wife works in biotech. She's a scientist. She works in Temecula. Every word in that word cloud is a dream. We were applauding at home while we were reviewing the presentation earlier together. If we are serious about an innovation district, if we are serious about tech and biotech, we have to include that entertainment. There has to be a social and culinary hospitality component, bars and restaurants, and a walkable Main Street type of environment, especially with the vertical housing, that is going to attract that young and hip crowd. If we're built to allow that and bring that in, that is what is going to be a very plug-and-play environment for some of these companies to want to come in. And Mr. Madrid, you mentioned the campus-style companies. It's got to be open to the public. We're losing all the economic leakage to Murrieta and Temecula. I'm tired of needing to go to Murrieta and Temecula for date night. You know, I want to be able to dress up and go out, and a lot of people really enjoy that social aspect. That's a very popular thing throughout our region. We're losing a lot of that. And to be able to have that in town, not just for our residents to enjoy as well, one of the benefits for drawing this here is that the rest of the city can use it, is to bring other people from surrounding towns to this walkable area. Walk around, grab a drink, grab a bite, go enjoy a nice little shop, and then all the young community, they won't need to walk too far. A little deli, get a sandwich, things like that. Maybe that's the New Yorker in me to grab a sandwich. But this is exactly what we need. This is a vital component. The entertainment aspect is so very necessary for us. So I really hope that you don't close out to that idea. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Derner. All right, Ms. Jenkins is next.
Followed by Gordon Mize.
Oh, thank you. Hi. I'm usually here talking about animals and animal shelters, but not tonight. As I listened, my other passion is our children. So we obviously have a lot of children here. One of the really things I'm seeing a lot in the schools that's needed is our STEM programs. You're talking biotech and high-tech industries coming in there and workers. Well, it naturally flows to possibly include something for the younger people. It could be high school, but it could be all the way down regarding STEM. That would flow right into it, and you probably could get the schools to buy into this also. Also, makerspace are really coming up, and those are also innovative areas where kids learn how to come up with new innovations, how they explore that kind of a thing, to use their minds to come up with all that stuff they come up with. So I just wanted to stick that in there when you're only thinking about the high-tech experience. How about we think about bringing our kids in so they're going to eventually move up to those expensive jobs in that same area. That was it. Thank you.
Good point. Thank you. All right, Mr. Mize, you're next.
Good afternoon, council members and planning commission and staff. I appreciate all your time and what your thoughts are so far. I wanted to maybe add on to what Casson had mentioned earlier about AB 98 and some of the concerns just about the amount of land of what net usable really looks like. I was just trying to do some calculations here. I think that we're going to have between 80 and 100 acres left of that 299 that's actually viable. That does not include, environmental issues, biological, the Keller off-ramp, all of some other items that will restrict that development. So you really have to be very aware of what your development wants to be and what you want to bring in to the specific plan. When I look at this, I really think we need to have development, but it's very hard, even as Cheryl mentioned, it's hard for a single person to come in and develop one building. And we have to assemble parcels. Just in the northern portion of this, along Scott Road, we have 22 different owners on 34 acres. To build a development, we're going to have to assemble that. It's very hard to get anybody to agree on anything these days. But the reality is we're going to have to try to do assemblages, and that's difficult in itself. So we have very limited land. AB 98 is going to impact us greatly moving forward until we have a definition of that. And what I'm understanding from their attorney, NAIOP, we probably would get definitions from AB 98 in summer and get a clearing of the ideas and definitions probably in third quarter of next year. I bring that up because it's probably intelligent to at least be aware of that timeline, to maybe even put a pause, not a moratorium or moratorium, but a pause on making these decisions on the specific plan so we know what that will impact these properties, because the sensitive receptors and 500 feet will cause a huge diminishing of land availability. All right. I don't think I have anything else. Scott Road, or the Gateway Commerce Center project is just an update. This has nothing to do with this. We have development 10 improvements finally come into play. We've had 9 different offers on the property. We want to bring people in. We just had to wait for the 10 improvements. I've heard a lot of concern about that, so I just thought I'd throw that in there right now.
Mr. Myers, please don't go yet. I got a question for you. Both you and Mr. Klein talked about AB 98, and just for clarification, we're anticipating that that has an effect on warehouses and distribution centers, but what about a corporate business or an office complex? Does AB 98 come into effect? There's no sensitive receptor impacts from an office. There is from a warehouse and with trucks, but not from an office. So we're talking about corporate business park with offices, not necessarily industrial.
And I agree with you. And to that point, AB 98 does specifically focus on industrial or business park. And to that point, I'm bringing up more on the business park side of things rather than a office building or residential. But business park, you will have still ground level doors, and that's why I'm saying we want to make sure we're aware of what the definition will be from the state.
Got it. Okay, so there may have an effect. We're not sure yet. We'll find out.
Correct.
I would just add, so it depends on what the building, how the building is constructed, right? And some of the uses that you had mentioned, in my mind, and I may be wrong, but let's just say a Dell computer, right, that is shipping in components, they're manufacturing components, and then they're shipping them out. So it's not necessarily a warehouse, but my interpretation of AB 98, and I've had several conversations with staff at Murrieta, so it's also planning staff, some attorneys. That's why guidance is needed from the state, because even those buildings and the uses that many of you have mentioned are innovation uses, but they're still subject to how AB 98 is written today.
All right, that's what I was asking. Thank you. I appreciate you both. All right, Madam Clerk, any other speakers?
No other speakers.
All right, so Ms. Peterson, we're kind of running out of time here, but let's just see if we can get through the vision statement.
Sounds good.
We have a couple
I'm going
options.
to pull this up, move us forward. So here's that Wordle again, and we have 4 vision statements drafted. There's a lot of similarities with them, but there are some nuanced differences, which I'm going to just kind of highlight. But as I go through them, I'm going to read each of the 4 of them. Some of them are a little long, but I'm still going to read them so that we can really try and embody them. But as I go through them, I just want to encourage you to consider these questions that are up on the screen. Is it aspirational? As Cheryl alluded to earlier, we really are looking for this to be inspirational and visionary. Are there elements of a particular vision statement you would want to add or take away? And again, the vision statement is really that guiding light for this specific plan. It really establishes the foundation, it establishes the intent, that then all of the detail, we've been talking about a lot of the detail, but it's really what establishes the foundation for all the detail that's in the rest of the plan. So with that, I'm going to start with vision statement 1. The first statement really defines the identity around innovation, infrastructure, and entrepreneurship. So it reads, the Menifee Innovation District will be a vibrant innovation hub that attracts high-tech businesses and features mixed-use options. With modern architecture, innovative infrastructure, and high-quality amenities, the district will create a dynamic environment that creates high-paying jobs and includes a range of entrepreneurial opportunities with incubator space, executive suites, research and development labs, light manufacturing, and corporate headquarters. The second statement is a little bit shorter. It focuses on business-centric identity and economic strength. The Menifee Innovation District aims to attract innovation and innovative industries to the city that offer high-wage employment and drive long-term economic growth, guided by comprehensive development and design standards to create a unique identity and vibrant public spaces. The district will emerge as a premier destination for business. Statement 3, it's fairly similar to number 1, but it really balances business with cutting-edge design and dynamic spaces. The Menifee Innovation District aims to attract innovative industries to the city that offer high-wage employment and drive long-term economic growth. Featuring cutting-edge architecture and design, the district will create a dynamic environment with a unique identity that includes a range of entrepreneurial opportunities with incubator space, executive suites, research and development labs, light manufacturing, and carpet headquarters. Last but not least, number 4 really shifts towards a more holistic and sustainable identity, blending work, life, and leisure. The Menifee Innovation District aims for innovative and sustainable development, attracting high-paying industries and businesses that drive long-term economic growth. Featuring cutting-edge architecture and design, the district will have a unique identity that seamlessly blends work and life, offers entertainment options, and includes walkable streetscapes and vibrant public spaces. So with that, I want to turn it over to you for discussion. I'm aware we have limited time, but I'm just going to put these questions back up to kind of help guide.
All right, very good. So maybe we can just go down the line. If you guys are prepared, hopefully everybody's taken a look at all 4 of these, and you can just make it easy on us and just say, I like number 1, or I like number 4, whatever you like. Chris Thomas, do you want to start?
I'd have to see them up again. I don't have them memorized.
Councilmember Sobek, if you want to start?
Sorry.
I like the flexibility of statement 1.
Okay.
I like number 1 as well.
Number 1 is number 1.
Number 2.
Okay. And I'm at 1 also.
Number 2?
I like 2 and 3.
You get 2 votes. All right.
Can't do that. I like number 4.
Okay. 2 votes for number Bob?
1. I like number 1.
Okay, and Chris Thomas?
Probably number 3.
3. All right, so it sounds to me like the majority of us like number 1, so maybe we can all agree that that's where we're going to go, going with the majority. Is everybody all right with that? All right. Ms. Peterson, what else are we doing?
That is it.
All right.
I think the last slide was just, discussion and deliberation. So I recognize we're out of time.
Yes,
I'll
but
turn
let
it
me
back
take
to
a
you, Mr.
second
Mayor.
to thank you for being here and helping us through this. And I want to thank all the people who came tonight and also those who came and spoke. It's always helpful to have input, and we don't ever want to do things without hearing from the public. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and adjourn. I'm going to